You step outside and smell nothing in particular. Your dog steps outside and reads the street like a newspaper. Every dog that walked past in the last 6 hours is on the pavement. What each one ate, whether they were stressed, whether they were healthy, whether they are the same dog that came by on Tuesday. Your dog knows all of it before you have unlocked the car. The park smells green to you. To your dog, it smells like everyone who was in the park before you arrived, laid out in order of when they were there, like pages in a book sorted by time. So what is it actually like to be a dog? The truth is, a dog is not living in the same world you are. It is living in the same air. Same street, same house, but a completely different reality built from it. Let's start where a dog's world starts. The nose. A dog has somewhere between 220 and 300 million olfactory receptors, the sensory cells that detect smell. A human has about 5 million. If you stretched out the tissue lining the inside of a dog's nose, it would cover an area roughly the size of a pocket handkerchief. Ours covers something closer to a postage stamp. And the part of a dog's brain dedicated to processing smell is proportionally about 40 times larger than ours. But none of that math tells you what it actually feels like. So try this instead. Imagine you walk into a coffee shop and you can not only smell the coffee, but simultaneously identify every individual person who sat in that chair before you, what they had for breakfast, how recently they were there, and whether any of them had a cold. Not one after the other, all at once. That is, roughly, the kind of information density a dog is working with every time it puts its nose to a surface. And the thing that is really hard to wrap your mind around is this: a dog can smell time. Not in some poetic sense, quite literally. A scent that was left 10 minutes ago is stronger than a scent left 2 hours ago. Dogs can detect that difference. The gradient of fading smell tells them the sequence of events that already happened. When you leave for work in the morning, your scent slowly fades through the day. There is a theory put forward by animal cognition researcher Alexandra Horowitz that your dog may have learned to read the strength of your residual scent as a kind of clock. When it has faded to a certain level, that is when you usually come back. Your dog does not check the time, it sniffs the room. A dog's nose even works in stereo. Each nostril samples the air independently, and the dog's brain uses the slight difference between the two to locate exactly where a smell is coming from, the same way two eyes give you depth perception for sight. A smell on the left is slightly different in the left nostril than in the right. The dog triangulates, and on top of all of that, dogs have a second olfactory system that we do not have. It is called the vomeronasal organ, sometimes called Jacobson's organ, and it sits in the roof of the mouth, connected directly to the brain. It does not detect regular scents, it detects pheromones, the chemical signals that other dogs and other animals release to communicate things that words could never quite say. Social status, reproductive state, fear, identity. When a dog licks something and then makes that slightly strange expression, mouth slightly open, head tilted, it is actually routing that information through this second system. It is reading a message that was written in chemistry. If you have got a dog, you already know there is one smell that completely short-circuits their brain. Could be a fire hydrant, could be a specific spot in the grass, could be a stranger's shoe. Whatever it is, drop it in the comments. I want to know. I read all of them. Now let's talk about what a dog sees. Here is where things get a little humbling if you have ever assumed your dog is watching the same world you are. Dogs are dichromatic, which means they see color through 2 types of cone cells rather than our 3. The colors they see clearly are blue and yellow. Red and green land somewhere in the grey zone. Muted, washed out, not absent entirely, but not vivid. A bright red ball in green grass, one of the most classic dog toys on the planet, actually does not stand out much to the dog that is chasing it. It is not the colour they are tracking, it is the movement. And movement is the key here. While a dog's colour vision is more limited than ours, its motion detection is sharper, faster. The visual system is wired differently, with more rod cells and fewer cone cells, which also means dogs see much better in low light. Behind the retina, there is a reflective layer called the tapetum lucidum. That is what causes the eye shine you see when a dog looks at you from across a dark room. Light that passed through the retina bounces back and hits the photoreceptors a second time. It is essentially a built-in light amplifier. Your dog navigates in near darkness by using every photon twice. A dog's field of view is also wider than a human's because the eyes sit slightly more to the sides of the head. Not as extreme as a rabbit or a horse, but enough to give more peripheral coverage. The trade-off is slightly less binocular overlap in the center, which is why dogs sometimes tilt their head when they are trying to focus on something close up. They are trying to get a better angle. Visual acuity, though, the sharpness of detail, is lower than ours. A dog's vision is often estimated at roughly 20/75, where we are 20/20. The world is not blurry to a dog, but it is not as sharp as what we see. Street signs are noise. A face from 40 feet away is a rough silhouette. What the dog is reading instead is posture, movement, gait. The way you walk tells the dog more than the expression on your face. Now the ears. Dogs can hear frequencies up to about 65,000 Hz. Humans top out at around 20,000, and most adults lose a lot of that range as they get older. What this means practically is that dogs hear things in the world that are genuinely inaudible to us. The ultrasonic squeak of a mouse behind a wall, the high-pitched whine of certain electronics, the particular pitch of your car engine from 2 blocks away that sounds like every other car to you, but is apparently the specific frequency your dog has filed under your name. Dogs also have 18 or more muscles in each ear, compared to the 6 we have. Each ear can swivel independently, which means a dog can point one ear at the window and one ear at the door at the same time. It is running 2 directional microphones simultaneously, each one tracking a different audio stream and feeding both to the brain at once. Let's talk about time, because this is the one that tends to really change how people see their dog. Dogs almost certainly do not experience time the way we do. We have clocks, calendars, the ability to think consciously about what Tuesday feels like versus what Sunday feels like. A dog probably does not have that. But it is not that dogs have no time sense at all. It is that their time sense runs through smell and routine, not through abstract counting. Studies measuring cortisol, the stress hormone, in dogs left home alone found that levels rise in the first hour. Then they plateau. A dog left alone for 2 hours is not necessarily more distressed than a dog left for 4. What the dog is tracking is the absence, not the duration. And then there is the scent clock, the fading of your smell in the house, the build of outdoor scents through an open window, the angle of light. Dogs build a model of the day from sensory information, not from watching a clock. Every return is, for the dog, a confirmation that you came back. That part is not performance. This brings us to the inner world, which is the part we have the least certainty about and the most reason to take seriously. When a dog looks at its owner, both the owner's oxytocin levels and the dog's oxytocin levels go up. This was documented in a study published in the journal Science in 2015 by researchers at Azabu University in Japan. Oxytocin is the bonding chemical that activates between a parent and an infant. The same feedback loop, the same neurochemistry. The researchers also found that wolves, even wolves raised by humans, did not show the same response. This is not a general mammal trait. It is something that emerged specifically in the relationship between dogs and people over tens of thousands of years of living together. What that means in practical terms is that your dog is not just attached to you as a food source or a habit. The bonding mechanism that fires when you make eye contact is genuinely similar to the one that fires in human family relationships. A dog does not have language for it, but the chemistry is real. Does that mean dogs feel love, happiness, boredom, loneliness? The honest answer is we cannot know for certain, because we cannot fully inhabit another creature's subjective experience. This was the point the philosopher Thomas Nagel made back in 1974 in a famous paper about bats. His argument was simple. You can know every physical fact about a bat's echolocation and still not know what it is like to be a bat. There is a gap between the objective description and the lived experience that cannot be closed from the outside. The same gap exists with your dog. What we can say is this. Dogs show behavioral markers of positive states, play, exploration, social engagement. They show behavioral markers of negative states, fear, stress, grief. Their brains have structures that in humans correlate with emotional experience. Their neurochemistry is similar enough to ours that the same bonding hormones activate in the same social contexts. The story the evidence tells is not proof, but it is not nothing. So here is what it is probably like to be a dog. You live in a world built primarily from smell, where the past is literally present in the air around you, and the future is whatever direction the trail gets stronger. You hear frequencies of the world that most of the creatures around you simply cannot access. You see motion with precision and color with a different palette. Your sense of time is woven into the texture of how things smell rather than the ticking of a clock. And if you have a human you're attached to, that attachment is running on genuine neurochemistry, the kind that makes a return feel like a reunion every single time. You share a house with us. You live in a completely different world. The remarkable thing is not how alien the dog's experience is. It is how far we are able to reach toward understanding it at all. If this kind of inside-out look at animal experience is your thing, subscribe. The next one asks a question that is even harder to answer. How do animals decide which humans to trust, and what exactly are they reading in us when they make that call? It turns out the answer involves body language we don't even know we're sending. Subscribe so you don't miss it.